gaming channel, and today we are here in a Titan Heavy rocket. I sort of dubbed the Trimaran, sort of Falcon Heavy setups as, the heavy setup. So I have like a Saturn Heavy, the Titan Heavy I just built. There's the Mammoth Heavies, which use the Mammoth engines and the 3.75 meter diameter parts. And yeah, this is of course the Titan Heavy, which uses the Titan 2 parts from the Making History DLC. You could usually swap these out for 2.5 meter diameter ones, but we're going for a very small scale. As you can see, this is a micro space plane called the Skybug. It takes a lot of inspiration from the Skybug design I saw, which has the dual landing gear setup, so if it topples over, it can, easily right itself, and it uses SAS as opposed to, conventional control surfaces, which is definitely a huge advantage for, landing on atmosphereless celestial bodies. In addition, I did make some upgrades to make this thing, space-worthy, to go to space, into orbit, visit a celestial body, and return back to Kerbin. This thing has an RTG as its main power source, but has some backup solar panels, because in testing, the RTG, it did explode once or twice, and without SAS, this thing really does have no control because of the way it's set up. So this thing needs to have constant flows of power. And the Twitch engines I use as the main engines for this craft, they're not very good engines. They don't have an alternator in them. They're good engines. They're very efficient, and they're good for tiny craft. But they have no alternator, so they cannot generate power passively while doing an engine burn. Unlike the Poodle engine's actually really amazing alternator, which is 8 electric charge per second. That's even better than the nuclear engine's mere 5 charge per second provided by the nuclear engine's alternator. Although the advantages to the nuclear engine, it's far more efficient and only requires liquid fuel, so you can have, you can save a bit of weight by not carrying an oxidizer. It's also a lot easier to fit into craft because it's a 1.25 meter diameter part. So, yeah. So, just going to plot a maneuver node to get into orbit. I've learned to use the maneuver mode pretty well now. So, I no longer have to cut to the map screen randomly during the ascent. So yeah, now I can do that. I do have a little bit of music going on in the background, just because I wanted to have a little bit of background noise and music. So yeah, we're just heading into orbit normally. Yeah, pretty normal. We are headed to Minmus, my favorite place to visit. I know I was planning to do a mowne mission, but I just couldn't really get it to work, so I decided to, use this new space plane design to go to Minmus, because I do love Minmus. It's a very pretty color, but it's also very forgiving. So, yeah. And there's not a lot of cutting in this video. Not all too much cutting. This mission was also done in one take. No quick saves were loaded. No quick saves were loaded in the making of this video, which I think is nice, but you should be able to do that anyway. So yeah, I'm thinking about having like a music playlist. I will make it public on the channel eventually, of just nice music to have playing in the background of my videos. Because these Kerbal Space Program videos, I feel like putting in some background music. I'm gonna lower this though. Can't really hear myself too well. So we are just normally headed to Minmus. Pretty normal. Use the maneuver node, a cheeky mowne encounter there. Yep, there we go, minmus encounter, easy peasy, no retrograde burning, required, just a straight minmus encounter. I did get a little bit too overzealous with the time warp around here, and we are messed up. So we need to do a very large retrograde burn in a not optimal position. And I did overcook this burn quite a bit because I'm using the cheetah engine. I have to keep this thing attached all the way to our minmus touchdown. Because, you know, I need I need to conserve the fuel for my main engines, because by the time this mission's over, we have just barely enough fuel to make it. We are left over with a whopping 0 meters per second. We had just enough fuel to do this mission. We could have squeezed a bit more if we, you know, had kept that tank attached, but I wanted to, you know, use the space plane to actually return home. So, yeah, we are headed to minmus. I did overcook the burn. If I had gotten to a minmus orbit with a periapsis, I could have gotten into a very low minmus orbit and then chosen a better landing site. But, you know, I'll just wing it. And, I mean, a random landing site is good because it usually gives me a place to plant a flag where I haven't really, you know, planted one. So, yeah. And here we go. More mowne. Burn, burn, burn. This is a very tall mountain. As you can see, the engine collided with the surface, but we're still good. We can open up the landing gear on the Skybug space plane. It's sort of what I dubbed it. You can see we have a very big parachute for like an emergency landing if we can't make it all the way back to the runway. And this thing does have a very poor stall distance. I will make some modifications and make a redux of this mission. I will make some modifications so, you know, it can actually sustain a glide, but and not have, you know, such a poor stall rate. You have to be traveling with the setup to have those, you know, basic fins I'm using. They have to be clipped into the Mark 1 inline cockpit to not be, you know, destroyed by the hypersonic speeds, so that they're protected by our passive thermal protection system, which is some radiator panels. Those are also in an effort to help protect the RTG, because, again, we have no conventional control surfaces. We have to use reaction wheels to control our pitch. And that makes for really good vehicles, actually. It makes for an amazing submersible vehicle. It makes for a great aircraft. And it makes for a really nice spacecraft, too. And this thing is very maneuverable. It's like a fighter. It can be like a space fighter. The aesthetic I was going for when attaching those 2 extra reaction wheels was to be like little laser cannons. So I hope that did that. So the way I'm kicking myself off the surface is by closing the gear, because it will glitch me upwards, and then I can engage the engines and start flying away from minmus. Now, I'm not going to really bother with the, you know, minmus circularization, just because I just want to get home at this point. This is the 3rd attempt at making a video I've done today. You know, I just wanted to get home. So we get our minmus escape trajectory, and we can just time warp away from minmus. Goodbye, minmus. Goodbye, minmus. Alrighty. Now we can go to our apoapsis, try to get a nice efficient descent by burning at apoapsis, where we're moving the slowest. Alternatively, if you're trying to speed up to get an ejection burn done, you would burn at periapsis, where you're going the fastest. But for like deorbit burns, you ideally want to burn at apoapsis, because yeah, it's helpful to know that. It's helpful to use the Oberth effect. That's a lot of, yeah, we have to use the Oberth effect. So we are also want to be coming down from low Kerbin orbit, because of course we do want to try to line ourselves up with the KSP. Aero braking takes far too long, and I can't get it low enough to get actual really good aero brakes at the speed I'm moving at. So if we just, you know, do an engine burn and cut out the complicated aero braking part of the mission, then we can save a little bit of time. I'm not too concerned about saving fuel. It's more about saving time and hard drive space, because it's too many failed attempts. I have to clear out my hard drive, and I don't like having to do that, because it slows everything down, and there's the long loading process to try to save some of the essential videos. It's a long process. I'm not too keen on it because it's just, I like being able to come down, sit down, pop on the Xbox, and begin making a video. I will be making a music video of this mission. I think it's going to end up being very cool. Very cool. And very cool. So yeah. I'm just going to time warp down to periapsis. We do have to be here to slow down because we need to, perform a better capture. Because right now we're in a stupid elliptical orbit. Like, out at minmus height elliptical. So we can just do a nice engine burn. I could have aero braked here, but I decided to not. And look how fast the engines brought down our apoapsis. Here I just decided to eyeball it because I don't need the maneuver node as much as I used to anymore. Now I sort of know that I can just use the different settings and faff around with those if I need to do something. So, just gonna keep on burning till we get our 2 nodes to flip, and we get a nice circular orbit. We do undershoot the KSC just a tiny bit. When I do edit this craft, I will be sure to stick a jet engine and, of course, fix the stalling issue to make this thing a much better airplane. That might have to end up being, a heat shield ditch. Ditching a heat shield. But I'm not sure. Maybe we can leave it the same, and I can just have, the original Skybug setup, except just the bottom fins are shielded from the hypersonic speeds. Not by being encased in the cockpit, but by, being protected by the thermal protection system. And, partially being clipped into the cockpit. Because that is a pretty good thermal protection system in itself. A lot of the cockpits, the plane cockpits, not the command pods, but the plane cockpits, since they're, meant for SSTOs and space planes, where lots of things need to survive re-entry, they are very robust when it comes to heat. But like command pods for expendable rockets, they're not all too robust. You need a heat shield on those. Although, probably not too much ablator, depending on where the mission's from. If it's from minmus, you'll want about half of the ablator, maybe a little more if you're planning on bigger re-entry heating. Because you do come in pretty quickly. I mean, it's not... there are definitely faster places you can be coming in from. You can be coming in from Elu mad fast. And, die from the G-forces. That's the problem. Those are our problem. So, we are bracing for re-entry. We did our retrograde burn using the Twitch engines, which are now officially out of fuel. So, we are pretty much unpowered. We did undershoot, and I did just have to do a parachute landing. It's like the Cirrus jet, where it has, the emergency parachute. Where it has the emergency parachute for landings. I will fix the stall ratio and make this thing, actually be able to glide, but also fly powered, by just sneaking on a little jet engine. Unfortunately, that's a little harder than it sounds, just because of the micro scale we're working at. By the way, here's re-entry. We have the radiators as a thermal control system, and everything survived. Nothing, albeit like the boosters and the rocket boosters. The second stage, the upper stage, that chunk of debris, it survived. It's, left stranded on minmus indefinitely. But everything survived re-entry. So yeah. So we're definitely not going to make it to the KSC runway. So let's just pull the chute and pray to the Kraken that it deploys before we hit the ground. As you can see, this thing has a very poor stall, but it can do a bit of gliding. And there we go. There's the, obligatory fireworks show. You can see that landing gear trying to drill itself through the mountains. But, yeah. That is the Skybug space plane. I like it. I hope you like it. I will do some modifications to it. I will make some modifications and do a redux of this video. Tomorrow will be Astroneer episode 3. So yeah. You should watch my Astroneer series. It's pretty good. But other than that, goodbye. Stay yes. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all that. Stay yes.